dry day on Wednesday. However,
Alright, so what's going on? Some freaking government guy, David Grusch,
Grush,
is a
I guess.
whistleblower. He was like a high-ranking military officer or something like that, right? Military man.
Former National Reconnaissance Officer Representative.
Yeah, that.
I don't know what any of that means.
We're gonna see what he's saying. Something about aliens. I don't know. I'm kind of. What do you think?
Are you skeptic? Is that what you were gonna say?
No. You believe in aliens?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think they visit us?
Yeah.
All right.
Do you
Do I what?
believe in aliens?
It's complicated. I don't
Okay.
believe in aliens. I think that they're probably real though. Do I think they visit us? No, although I haven't watched these videos yet. So,
He's apparently claiming that they're here,
yeah.
chilling.
And we're just kind of taking his word for it because he has rank.
I don't know.
There's no
I don't know.
wackadoos in the army.
I think a lot of people are taking his word for it. We're gonna decide that for ourselves now, though, because I haven't really watched.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, ranking members and congressmen, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is an important issue, and I'm grateful for your time. My name is David Charles Grush. I was an intelligence officer
Grush.
for 14 years,
Grush.
both in the U.S. Air Force, both active duty, Air National Guard, and Reserve, at the rank of major, and most recently from 2021 to 2023, at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency,
Freudian slip.
NGA, at
I already think that he's too excited.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. He seems like too perked up.
Well, he
about
might
it.
just be nervous.
Maybe. Or he's just excited about sharing his alien knowledge.
Or
But
he's an alien from the future
He looks a
and he
little-
lives in 2025 and that's why he just said that.
Oops.
Yeah. See, I think they're time travelers. I don't think they're aliens.
Really?
Sure. I think yes. Go ahead.
No, you can't just say sure like that.
I
You
have
don't
no
mean it.
reason to think one or the other, so I think time travelers is what I'll go with, just because fuck it. Hey, everyone's betting on alien. If they're right, they have to split the money. I'll bet time travelers. If I'm right, I get it all.
Okay.
the GS-15 civilian level, which is the military equivalent of a full bird colonel. I was my agency's co-lead in unidentified anomalous phenomena and transmedium object analysis, as well as reporting to the UAP task force, UAPTF, and eventually, once it was established, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. I became a whistleblower through a PPD-19 urgent concern filing in May 2022 with the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Following
Inspector
concerning
Gadget.
reports from multiple esteemed and credentialed current and former military and intelligence community individuals that the U.S. government is operating with secrecy above congressional oversight with regards to UAPs. My testimony is based on information I've been given by individuals with a long...
How do you feel about the UAP instead of UFO terminology?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think that it's annoying that they're changing it.
Is it because, like, I know the reason they give is because they're saying they don't know if it's an object or not. When you see something, it could just be a trick of the eye or something,
Or
so it's a
light,
phenomena
or,
rather than an
yeah.
object. But do you think that that's the true reason, or do you think it's just because they're like, let's not say UFO, that's ridiculous?
I think that sounds more plausible, yeah. That they just think UFO is ridiculous because it's been used for, like, ages.
Yeah, since
And
like
in,
the
like,
tinfoil hat shit. it's
Yeah,
just like,
and it's movies and cartoons, and
okay.
UFOs are connected to little green men with big black eyes, and maybe that's not what they're going for.
But why not? Like, what if that... Okay, so if it is little green men with big black eyes, will they go back to UFO?
No.
You don't think so?
I think what is it? UAP just sounds fancier.
What I'm asking is UAP a general term? And then if we find out it's an actual ship, would
Yeah,
it
but
become
then-
a UFO?
No, because then it's not unidentified.
Oh, an FO.
It would be a
It
flying
would definitely
object.
be an FO.
It would be an aircraft at that point, or
Or
a
a hovering.
spacecraft.
Right.
So then it wouldn't even fall under either of those terms
Okay.
anymore, right?
I don't know. Anyway, just asking the questions here.
Track record of legitimacy and service to this country. Many of whom also have shared compelling evidence in the form of photography, official documentation, and classified oral testimony to myself and many my various colleagues. I have taken every step I can to corroborate this evidence over a period of 4 years, while
What if somebody just blew an air horn in here right now?
Was that what did that idiot
Was
say?
that oh fuck. Something like that. Was that
Disruptive?
disruptive? Yeah, was that disruptive? What the
Little-
sass. I
Little
love it.
cheeky smile. Was that
He
disruptive?
just blew an air horn in the middle of a meeting. Everybody's got their little microphones and earpieces, and he's just like, wah!
Yeah, fucking call back.
Love it.
Watch our other video to find out.
I was with the UAP task force, and do my due diligence on the individual sharing it. This is because of these steps, I believe strongly in the importance of bringing this information before you. I am driven by a commitment of both to truth and transparency, rooted in our inherent duty to uphold the United States Constitution and protect the American people. I'm asking Congress to hold our government to this standard and thoroughly investigate these claims. But as I stand here under oath now, I am speaking to the facts as I've been told them. In the U.S. Air Force, in my National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, reservist capacity, I was a member of the UAP Task Force.
Too many acronyms.
Right.
Just say the thing, because nobody knows what all this shit stands for.
It starts becoming like gibberish.
Yeah.
It's like reading legal paperwork.
Yeah.
When they start talking like that, you're just like,
Yeah, I don't know what the
hereforth,
fuck he just
henceforth.
said. Who did what where? You did everything.
Became
Every
a
one of those
jumbled mess.
answers was the alphabet.
They're trying to trick you. They're
Wow.
trying to get you all
From
jumbled up.
2019 to 2021. I served at the NRO Operations Center
21.
on the director's briefing staff, which included the coordination of the presidential daily brief and supporting variety of contingency operations, which I was the Reserve Intelligence Division Chief backup. In 2019, the UAP Task Force Director asked me to identify all special access programs and controlled access programs, also known as SAPs and CAPs, we needed to satisfy our
See, that time at least he said what they were.
Saps and caps. It sounds cool too. He made it like rhyme.
All right.
That
Saps
guy
and
on
caps.
the back right there looks like he's cool.
Yeah, I like his watch.
He doesn't belong. He's like cool looking. He's got tattoos.
Who is that? Because that might be that Corbell guy.
and we were direct report at the time to the DepSec Dev.
That.
At the time, due to my extensive executive level intelligence support duties, I was cleared to literally all relevant compartments and in a position of extreme trust, both in my military and civilian capacities. I was
out.
informed in the course of my official
Cut that out.
duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program,
Come now.
to which I was denied access to those additional read-ons when I requested it. I made the decision, based on the data I collected, to report this
Data.
information to
This
my
is data.
superiors and multiple inspectors general, and in effect becoming a whistleblower. As you know, I've suffered retaliation for my decision, but I am hopeful that my actions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome of increased transparency. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer your
boring.
questions.
Nothing
Next one.
happened.
So that's just like
The intro.
that's like who am I? Why am I?
Again, thank you all for your service and for testifying today. Want to just talk about UAPs as it relates to what we're seeing in the pilots' interaction with UAPs. Particularly, Mr. Graves, one of the I think, concerns for members of this committee is this idea that pilots, there's no system to actually report UAPs and the stigma around pilots. And so could you just briefly, you mentioned that you're working with 30 pilots right now that have had encounters with UAPs. But you've also, I believe, discussed and know of many more pilots. This is just those that you're currently working with. Is that correct? Can you expand on that?
Certainly. I'll break that down in two ways.
Who's that guy?
When we were first
think
experiencing
we're out of
these
order
objects
here.
off the eastern seaboard in the 2014 to 2015 time period, anyone that had upgraded their radar systems were seeing these objects. So there was a large number of my colleagues that were detecting these objects off the eastern seaboard. They were further correlating that information with their other onboard sensors, and many of them also had their own eye sightings as well of these objects. Now, that was our personal firsthand experience at the time. Since then, as I've engaged this topic, others have reached out to me to share their experiences, both on the military side as well as the commercial aviation side. On the military aviation side, veterans that have recently got out have shared their stories and have expressed how the objects we were seeing in 2014, 2015 continued all the way to 2019, 2020, and beyond. And so it became a generational issue for naval aviators on the eastern seaboard. This was something we were briefing to new students. This is something that was included in the notice to airmen to ensure that there was no accidents. And now with commercial aviators, they are reaching out because they're having somewhat similar experiences as our military brothers and sisters, but they do not have any reporting system that they can send us to.
And let me just add, both to Mr. Fravor as well as Mr. Graves, not
Commander
having the
Fravor's
system for reporting, would you both agree that is harmful to not just our national security interests, but to understand this phenomenon of what's happening with UAPs?
I think it's actually.
Oh yeah, Fravor.
It's a travesty that we don't have a system.
That guy is
It-
cool.
correlate.
That was the dude I said that might be. I was like,
Or
that
Bell
might
or
be that.
something.
Yeah, I could
That's
just.
a cool looking dude. Look at him. He looks like he belongs on the cover of like a mustache wax.
Yeah, he's like a
beard
hipster
wax.
dude. That's exactly who I thought it was, just by his arms.
I want to know what he thinks.
You're not impressed that I identified him?
I am. Yeah, no, totally. How do you know him? What is he?
Alien hunter.
Oh, word.
He brings together everyone who's whistleblowers on aliens.
Cool.
A little eccentric, a little, I don't know, mixed feelings, but passionate and seems to be good at what he does.
I mean, he's sitting there right
Yeah.
behind these guys.
He's kind of the guy. He's kind of spearheaded all this shit. Instead of asking what you believe, what do you think would be what do you want to be true?
What do I want? I think like everybody kind of has that like inner child desire for like
Aaron,
just the aliens to come out of their ships and be like, "Sup, humans?"
are you afraid of them?
Yeah. But that's just because it's so mysterious. I don't know what the fuck they are.
I don't know who said it. It might be this Corbell guy. It might be people he's talked to. There's people who think that they're here to protect us. And that's why they're always farting around with military stuff. And they shut down military stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, like, they're seen a lot around bomb sites and things like that. And it happened primarily after we invented the nuke is when all the sightings started. And people think that they're like, uh-oh, these people figured it out. We got to go, like, keep an eye on them. Or, like, police the humans now because they got nukes.
Oh, God. Yeah, that makes sense. But, like, I could go too deep into this because I'm on that, like, ancient alien, like, ship.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and press play here. I'm just kidding. You can
They're,
talk
like,
about it.
I don't know. I just think that, like, all the ancient alien stuff is pretty, like, convincing, too. Like, all the
No.
hieroglyphics and different... There's a bug flying around. Probably an alien.
He was like,
Shut up.
And actually investigate. You know, so if you took the East Coast, you know, there's coastal radars out there that monitor our air defense identification zone, so out to 200 miles.
terribly sorry to pause again. This dude was a pilot who chased around a Tic Tac.
Oh, is this who that is?
Mhm.
I know that story.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's him.
Like commercial or military?
Military.
They can track these, you know, so when you see them, they could actually go and pull that data and get maneuvering. And instead of just having
Allegedly.
the airplanes, there's other data sources out there. And I've talked to other government officials on this. So you need a centrally located repository that these reports go to. So if you just stuck it in DOD, you wouldn't get anything out of the intelligence
stick in
committee.
a
'cause
centrally
they
located
have a tendency not to
repository.
talk. But if you had a central location where these reports would come in, not just military, but also commercial aviation, because there's a lot of that going on, especially if you talk to anyone that flies
Notice all the reserved for witness seats are empty.
Fuck you.
from here to Hawaii. Over the Pacific, they see odd lights. So I think you need to develop something that allows you a central point to collect the data in order to investigate.
Mr. Graves?
Yeah.
I would concur with everything Mr. Fravor said. I'll continue to say that the commercial pilots that have reached out to me through Americans for Safe Aerospace are doing so because they don't feel there's another way for them to report this safety issue.
And I think one of the clear outcomes of this hearing already is that there has to be a safe and transparent reporting process for pilots, both on the commercial side and the military side, to be able to report UAPs in a way that's also transparent, but also understands the scope of our national security interests and what may be classified or not. But I think there has to be some sort of system, and so that's something that I hope can be an outcome that this committee can work on.
I'm not super interested in this part of the hearing thing.
Why?
Because they're just talking about like the ways to report it and how there should be ways, like easier accessible ways for people to report sightings and stuff. I want to hear what that main guy has to say.
I'm with you. I'm bored by these nerds.
It must be so hot and stuffy.
Aliens are real. Sorry.
Who was that?
Everyone here. I'm
Oh,
just kidding.
God.
I'm just kidding.
Is there anything else for the two of you briefly beyond this reporting system that you think that we can do as the government to encourage and facilitate more civilian reporting?
I think we're doing it right now.
Okay,
I
great.
think this hearing is going to show the American people that their government takes this topic seriously.
And how about civilians that may not be pilots? What kind of process could be in place for civilians who are not pilots, who may have UAP encounters?
TikTok.
Buy an airplane.
Buy an airplane.
TikTok. You're right.
It's already in place. It's
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Because there's so many like recent alien video or UAP videos on.
Yeah, all you need to do is like in the bottom just have some slime or something just in
Yeah,
case.
just in case people don't want to pay attention
do
to
some
that
little
one.
dance like while you show off the sky. Yeah, good idea.
Do either of you have any suggestions that could facilitate that?
My recommendations would be to make that a sensor-centric operation in order to make it as objective as possible.
Okay. Sir, Mr. Fravor?
No, I agree with Mr. Graves on that.
Okay. Just briefly, I also just want to note, particularly for the two pilots, and I have a question for Mr. Grush. One of the things that I found fascinating in our discussion, Mr. Graves, last night as well, is that you both described UAPs and formations and the way they are observed in space or in our air, and the way that they move is essentially ways in which current technology or aircraft that we know of are unable to actually function or move. And so will you just, for the public record, again, once again, just briefly...
Why is that girl in the back laughing?
Just either describe or note that aircraft that we
Keep it
witnessed,
together,
particularly by
lady.
the 30 folks that you're working with, are
Are you sure it's
essentially
not just her face?
outside the scope of anything that we
No,
know
I'm
of
not
today and the
sure.
technology we have today. Mr. Graves, Mr. Fravor?
I am sure that is that guy's face though, in the blue.
Yes, the objects that are being seen by commercial pilots are performing
mean.
maneuvers that
Cut that
are
out.
unexplainable
Okay.
due to
Cherry
our
Coke.
current
Cut that
understanding
out.
of our technology and our capabilities as a
Cherry
country.
Coke means
And that
cut that
applies
out,
for the
please.
military as well.
Mr. Fravor?
Yeah, I concur with that. We have nothing that can stop in midair and go the other direction, nor do we have anything that can, like in our situation, come down from space, hang out for 3 hours.
We've got nothing that can stop and go in another direction.
Yeah, like in the air.
Helicopter?
Yeah, but even still, it's not like an immediate stop and an immediate, like, they still do that slowly. Because they have their little...
I don't know. I think I just named one. I ain't even a pilot.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah. Look
Okay,
at all
let's
those
try to-
empty reserved for window seats.
Let's try to
try
not
to,
pause the last minute of this video.
All right.
And go back up.
Thank you. My last question, and sometimes I know that you have also said some of these answers in the past, but we're trying to get them on the public record as well, which is really important. Mr. Grush, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I would just say that I think that these questions are important questions, and I look forward to being involved in the process to get those answered. I know there'll be a lot of questions from other committee members, so I yield back.
That's that juicy shit.
Yeah. It's cool that he said he knows exactly where and he gave the info to whoever the Brick. Trying to swear less. Whoever.
Is this one that we haven't seen?
Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Let me say I want to thank you for having this hearing, and I want to thank Mr. Burchett, Ms. Luna.
Do they call each other chairman because they're all sitting?
Yeah.
For leading this hearing, and with that, I yield my 5 minutes to Mr. Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to direct this, I believe, to Mr. Grush, but if any of you all feel like you need to jump in, just jump right
Grush.
in. We're good.
Sure.
Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically.
That's what I find interesting.
What did he say? I don't
He
like
like
these.
he doesn't he likes to say non-human because he likes to keep it kind of like open to
What did the guy call it?
extraterrestrial.
And do we know for sure it's non-human? He knows for sure it's non-human?
That's what he's saying.
Is he claiming he knows it's a different species? Like he's
Yes.
he saw
there
the
there
species.
was one clip that I saw of a lady asking him something similar, and he was like, non-human. Yeah, like she asked if there were remains recovered in the wreckage,
And he said non-human.
and he said non-human. I like to say non-human, and he like repeated this
But-
kind of.
Okay. What else is there?
Alien.
Well, yeah, besides
But
that.
I think like extraterrestrial means not of this world, right? Like
Yeah,
from a
so
different land.
interdimensional would also fall under that.
right, like even some people are speculating like could it be interdimensional? Or even like time travel, whatever, it's not human, whatever it is. It's
So
not
what
human.
though? Like what's yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well,
then.
yeah, that's the problem. He's not being like he's being vague.
I guess I feel like it's either human or it's alien, right? Like what's the other option?
Yeah. Well, alien is just another word for like foreign, right?
Right. So that's what I mean. Like
But he wants to keep it vague. Non-human.
how do you vague those two out?
It's probably just like the UFO thing. They're trying not to say like alien,
They don't want to say alien.
little green men, or ETs. You know what I mean? Like everything has a
So non-humans.
something tied to it, so it's non-human.
So it's a dolphin.
Could be a dolphin.
Oh wait, no.
From the future.
Non-human or non-Terran, non-Earthling.
He said non-human.
So it could be any animal. It could be mosquito. Could be a plant.
Could be a dog. That's why I said maybe it's that dog from the Russian thing.
Dude, what would you
Russians-
do? That would be so fucking weird.
What if the
the
aliens
UFO
are
opened up and it was like a dog in a
Golden
space-
retriever, just all happy.
like driving it? Dude, you'd be like,
That would be so
you'd be
exciting.
so mind. You'd be like,
That'd be
what
so
happens?
Do you think they could speak or like telepathically communicate?
No, it's like a regular dog, except it knows how to drive a UFO. It's like trying to snip your ass and stuff.
But it can pilot an aircraft
Yeah.
that can like stop in midair and switch
That's
direction.
scarier to me than actual aliens, because I would be like, I would think it's from the future, and I think some weird shit happens. Like we take a bad path. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's a cool path, but that's still more mysterious to me than like a guy from like 2 galaxies over, like just visiting our neighborhood.
Right. Now, if you think it, like if it's aliens, like extraterrestrial aliens, do you think that they're like human looking?
Ow.
Like just blend in with humans, or do you think that they're like
I don't know if we have any way of knowing. I guess if I activate my skeptic brain and I had to guess and answer that, I would say most likely, based on complete ignorance, most likely, like what I can assume most likely is it would be human-like,
mm-hmm.
because we have evidence that human-like biology works in those ways.
Right.
So we would have to see, in order to assume it would be something different, we would have to know that something different
can exist.
can do it
Right.
like that. Like if it's like a cloud of gas or something.
Oh man.
Yeah, if it's like wicked
Like a fart
alien.
cloud.
Yeah, and it's just like thinks thoughts at you and you understand them or something. That's more far-fetched than like Frank from Jupiter
Right.
with a wife beater on with a mustard stain on it.
Yeah, just based on like people's accounts of aliens though. I guess
Yeah, they
is a-
say they have big heads and big eyes and stuff. Well, do you
Yeah.
consider that human-like?
humanoid, but I
Right.
wouldn't call that. That's not what I mean by human-like. When I say human-like, I mean like can blend in. Like that guy could just be an alien right now.
Oh, I don't know. I don't
They might just look slightly like racially different. It's like a new race.
I don't know.
I don't know.
What do you think
I don't know.
is more likely?
What do I think is more likely? I
Yeah.
don't know.
You know what
I
we
don't know,
should do is
because
we
I
should
think-
put times we should put time signatures on our screen for when we stop talking.
Yeah.
Because
we
I
can
get
do that.
annoyed when people pause and babble.
Yeah.
I'd be
we
like,
can
shut the
do that.
fuck up, skip. If you don't want to hear us, click on the time here. We'll put it in front of me.
Yeah.
All right, what were we saying?
I don't remember. You cut me off, bitch.
Oh. Human-like.
Human-like.
It would be based on their planet. It would be
Right,
based on the size and like their
the
sun
living
and all that shit.
conditions,
Yeah,
because we're
you
shaped
just
the
did
way that we are because of our planet.
But maybe
But I think
planets like
I-
us
I
and
think
our
I'm-
conditions are the only ones that produce
I
intelligent
might
life.
subscribe a little more to the idea that it's interdimensional
Based
instead
on
of
what?
extraterrestrial, just because it seems more. I don't know.
You think it's easier to travel dimensions than travel planets?
I think it's probably just as hard, and if they're that advanced, they can probably do it.
We already went to Mars
They're
or the moon.
Okay, we've gone to the moon, but I mean,
Allegedly.
have we been to Mars? No, right? Just the rovers on Mars.
have. Our little robots have.
Poor guy.
They
He,
sing
like,
happy birthday to
I know.
themselves.
I was just gonna say they just sing themselves happy birthday. That's sad. Okay, let's keep listening to this man's whistleblowing.
Sure.
Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Open.
Plain forms of intelligence, and if so, when
He asked him what he thinks the coolest decade was, stylistically,
1930s.
fashion-wise.
do you think this first occurred?
Prohibition.
Yeah.
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Okay. Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct firsthand knowledge and access to some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases that the recovered material would be in? And I know a lot of Congress talked about we're going to go to Area 51, and and there's nothing there anymore anyway. It's just and we move like a glacier. And as soon as we announce it, I'm sure the moving vans would pull up. But please.
I can't discuss that.
That guy's like kind of a conspiracy theorist, huh?
Yeah, well, was he saying that if there were stuff there, they would move it? When they
Yeah,
went to
he's like,
check?
I'm sure as soon as we announce it, the moving vans will show up and they'll
Right.
get the fuck out.
That's funny.
That's funny. His little like eyebrow movements, like he was just.
Publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
And we could get that in the skiff if we were allowed to get in a skiff with you. Would that be probably what you would think?
Sure, if you had the appropriate
Yeah.
accesses, yeah.
What special access programs cover this information, and how is it possible that they have evaded oversight for so long?
I do know the names. Once again, I can't discuss that publicly and how they've evaded oversight. In a closed setting, I can tell you the specific tradecraft used.
All right. When do you think those programs began, and who authorized
1930s.
them?
Man, 1930s.
I do know a lot of that information, but that's something I can't discuss publicly because of
All right.
sensitivities.
If any of y'all want to jump in on any of this, you're more than welcome to. What level of security clearance is required to fully access these programs?
Well,
6.
anybody who has,
And I say that because myself, Representative Gates and Representative Luna were basically turned away at one point at Eglin. So please go right ahead.
certainly difference between member access and say somebody like me, but anybody who has a TSSCI clearance and meets the eligibility criteria, the access adjudicative authority should be able to grant you access. Yeah.
Mr. Burchett, if you'll yield, so just to put a fine point on that, there's nothing that you're aware of that's above special access program classification.
It's a misnomer that there's anything actually above top secret. Executive Order 13526 delineates the classification levels.
Right, but I draw a point on that because we can have access to those programs, and so the notion that we're not being given that access, sort of defies our typical muscle memory here in Congress. Thank you, Mr. Burchett. I'll yield back to you.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Brooks.
welcome.
Along those lines, Title 10, you may not know this or not, but
That was Bill
Title 10 and
Gates.
Title 50 authorization, they seem to say they're inefficient.
Bill Gates is there.
Yeah, he's
How were
looking
their
young.
bowel movements?
Yeah.
Consistent?
Yeah. Yep. On time.
So who gets to decide this, in your opinion, in the past?
It's a group of career senior executive officials,
Okay, are they government officials?
both
Or-
in and out,
Do what?
both in and out of government, and that's about as far
I
as I
got
can
you.
go there.
All
Yeah.
right, well, that leads to my next question. Which private corporations are
Google.
directly involved in this program? How much taxpayer money has been invested in these programs, to your knowledge? I mean, we know we audit the Pentagon every year, and I've been here 5 years, and they failed the dadgum thing every year. They lose over $1 billion a year, we think, and I've told the Department of Defense maybe 60% of their assets are unaccounted for, whatever the heck that means. In the public sector, you go to jail for that kind of crap. So,
I like this guy, like using this as an opportunity
To like let out some
whatever
steam.
his shit is. Yeah.
tell me.
Yeah, I know when I'm a dollar off.
I went there with my friend Frank, who still owes me $15. Frank, just give it all his shit
My
out.
DTS travel voucher, I get hammered, but seems like it doesn't work the other
If
way.
you
right?
sell over
Yeah.
if you sell over $600 worth of stuff on eBay, now you get a call from the IRS. So, please, what
This
corporation?
guy's pissed. I love him. Put him in charge
Yeah.
of things. He's so mad. If you sell over $600 of things on eBay. He's like, fuck the man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I don't know the specific metrics towards the end of your question. The specific corporations I did provide to the committees in specific divisions, and
That's googly.
I spent 11 and a half hours with both Intel committees. So
Okay, has there been an active U.S. government disinformation campaign to deny the existence of unidentified aerial phenomena? And if so, why?
I can't go beyond what I've already espoused publicly about
I
that.
like his whistleblowing hasn't been very loud, has it?
Well, he doesn't want to go to fucking prison.
Or get assassinated.
Right.
That sucks. God
He
damn.
probably has some lawyers telling him in his ear
Yeah,
right now,
don't
like,
say
shut
it.
the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut
Yeah.
the fuck up, or
But
I will assassinate
If he sings it.
The toxic, what the fuck?
UAP.
Crashing on a phone in New Mexico. Toxic,
Man.
hidden in the area 51. He's got like coordinates and shit. That's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I've been told to ask you what that is and how to get it in the record.
Which
What have you stated publicly in your interviews for the congressional record?
if you reference my News Nation interview and I talk about a multi-decade, campaign to disenfranchise public interest, basically.
Chairman, I've gone.
Yeah.
Thank
Does
you.
this guy have
Apologize,
liar
Mr. Chairman,
vibes
I
to you or
yield
no?
back negative 21 seconds.
Thank you.
Does he have liar vibes?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to tell because he's so like composed and like.
We begin with that historic UFO hearing on Capitol Hill today. As we just said, the bipartisan push for transparency, certainly decades in the making. The nation watched gripping testimony of UAPs, accusations of a government cover-up, calls for action, and demands for greater transparency on this issue. What are these unidentified objects? Where did they come from? And are we alone? Take a listen. Here are some of the key highlights from that hearing.
Finally, I'd like to thank these three brave witnesses here. They took an oath. They took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and dadgummit, they're doing it. And we owe them a debt of gratitude.
I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me. Today, I would like to highlight three critical issues that demand our action. As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace, but they are grossly underreported. These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently witnessing these phenomena. The stigma attached to UAP is real and powerful and challenges national security. It silences commercial pilots who fear professional repercussions, discourages witnesses, and is only compounded by recent government claims questioning the credibility of eyewitness testimony. Parts of our government are aware of more about UAP than they let on, but excessive classification practices keep crucial information hidden. Since 2021, all UAP videos are classified as secret or above. This level of secrecy not only impedes our understanding, but fuels speculation and mistrust. In 2014, I was an F-18 Foxtrot pilot in the Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 11, the Red Rippers.
And you could stay regular for the rest of your life.
And I was stationed at NAS Oceana in Virginia Beach. After upgrades were made to our jet's radar systems, we began detecting unknown objects operating in our airspace. At first, we assumed they were radar errors, but soon we began to correlate the radar tracks with multiple onboard sensors, including infrared systems, eventually through visual ID. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, 2 F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter.
I saw that guy.
Do you see him? He was like, whoa.
A black cube inside of a clear sphere. That's some funky shit. Zoom in on him.
Of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. The mission commander terminated the flight immediately and returned to base. Our squadron submitted a safety report, but there was no official acknowledgement of the incident and no further mechanism to report the sightings. Soon, these encounters became so frequent that aircrew would discuss the risk of UAP as part of their regular pre-flight briefs. The majority of witnesses are commercial pilots at major airlines. Often, they are veterans with decades of flying experience. Pilots are reporting UAP at altitudes that appear above them at 40,000 feet, potentially in low Earth orbit or in the gray zone below the Kármán line, making inexplainable maneuvers like right-hand turns and retrograde orbits or J-hooks. If everyone could see the sensor and video data I witnessed, our national conversation would change. I urge us to put aside stigma and address the security and safety issue this topic represents. If UAP are foreign drones, it is an urgent national security problem. If it is something else, it is an issue for science.
I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, to which I was denied access to those additional read-ons when I requested it. I made the decision, based on the data I collected, to report this information to my superiors and multiple inspectors general, and in effect becoming a whistleblower. As you know, I've suffered retaliation for my decision, but I am hopeful that my actions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome of increased transparency.
The controller told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space. We arrived at the location at approximately 20,000 feet, and the controller called merge plot, which means that our radar blip was now in the same resolution cell as the contact. As we looked around, we noticed that we saw some whitewater off our right side. It's important to note that the weather on this day was as close to perfect as you could ask for off the coast of San Diego. Clear skies, light winds, calm seas, no whitecaps from waves.
That means like pressure was being applied on the water?
I guess so. If they were seeing white, that means that the water's like
Being blown?
being disturbed, or yeah.
Yeah.
So the whitewater stood out in a large blue ocean. All four of us, because we were an F-18F, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, looked down and saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water.
Tic-Tac probably loves this shit.
Because they're getting it.
Yeah.
People are like, I gotta do Tic-Tac.
Yeah. They should release like an
forgot about
alien
Tic-Tac.
a brand
Yeah.
or something.
Water,
That's a good idea.
like a ping pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look with the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the Tic-Tac. We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the Tic-Tac, or we considered 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the Tic Tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet, and the Tic Tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the white water was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cat point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute. You can calculate the speed." We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to them, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar.
That guy, I believe 100%. Because his eyes were even, like, watering a little bit while he was telling the story, and I've had my eyes do that when I'm telling, like, a freaky fucking story that I think people won't believe.
I've listened to that dude a lot at this point, and I believe everything he says too, just on a hunch at least. That doesn't... I believe he's not lying, is what I mean.
Right.
I don't know what conclusions to draw from that, but I don't think he's being malicious. That's all I mean.
Yeah.
And I don't think that about the other guy either. I just simply haven't heard shit from him until just now. So I don't know. When I say I don't think he's lying, I just mean like whether or not what he experienced was an alien or something else. I don't know.
You believe he's being genuine.
I believe he had a crazy experience.
Yeah. And shared it with several other people.
Yeah.
So this one here, I think, is him calling it non-human again.
And when you reported your experiences with a UAP, did any of you face any repercussions with your superiors, yes or no?
No.
No. I've actually never seen anything personally, believe it or not. So.
All right. And then do you...
So he's never seen a UAP personally.
Well...
So why is he the head guy that's like
yeah,
whistleblowing?
what is he?
It's because of intelligence that he has, I guess. I don't know. Let's see if he says more stuff.
Believe it or not. So.
All right. And then do you believe there's an active disinformation campaign within our government to deny existence of UAPs, yes or no?
I don't have an answer to that.
As previously stated publicly, yes.
I think previously with like Project Blue Book, yes, but currently I don't speak for the United States government.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions for Mr. Graves. What percentage of UAP sightings, in your belief, go unreported by our pilots?
This is an approximation based off of my personal experience speaking with a number of pilots, but I would estimate we're somewhere near 5% reporting, perhaps.
So like 95% basically don't report seeing UAPs?
That's just my personal estimate.
In the incident off Virginia Beach, do you believe the Navy took the danger to your aircraft seriously after it was reported?
Absolutely.
A few questions for Mr. Favor. As an expert naval aviator, have you ever seen an object that looked and moved like the Tic Tac UAP?
No.
Did the Tic Tac UAP move in such a way that defied the laws of physics?
The way we understand them, yes.
Many dismiss UAP reports as classified weapons testing by our own government, but in your experience as a pilot, does our government typically test advanced weapon systems right next to multi-million-dollar jets without informing our pilots?
No, we have test ranges for that.
It took over 15 years for your encounter with the Tic Tac to be declassified. Do you feel there was a good reason to prevent lawmakers from having access to this footage?
No, I just think it was ignored when it happened, and it just sat somewhere in a file. Never got reported.
In a drawer. It happens a lot up here. Shocker. Mr. Grush, a couple of questions for you too, sir, this morning. What percentage of UAPs do you feel are adequately investigated by the U.S. government, of the 5% that are reported?
I can only speak for my personal leadership over at NGA. I tried to look at every report that came through that I could triage. So.
Do you believe that officials at the highest levels of our national security apparatus have unlawfully withheld information from Congress and subverted our oversight authority?
There are certain elected leaders that had more information that I'm not sure what they've shared with certain.
Oh man, we should have been keeping a closer eye on him this whole time.
What, he's,
he
like,
might be answering things for this other dude.
Members or etc. But certainly I would not be surprised.
Okay. You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
So yes.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think we could stop there. Do you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. What we'll do is, I think this is fun.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting and fun. So let's do more of this. Let's stay on this subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.